This episode is brought to you by Ferrero. Soccer's biggest stage is approaching, and Ferrero is making it easy to go all in. Pick any two Ferrero brands from Kinder Bueno to Ferrero Rocher, and you could win the $1 million grand prize, plus an exciting range of daily and weekly prizes. Don't miss your shot. Official rules apply. Learn more at goallinandwin.com.
Last night, you spent 2 hours deciding what to wear to the party. This morning, it'll take you 2 minutes to list it on Depop and make your money back. Just grab your phone, snap a few photos, and we'll take care of the rest. The sheer dress and platform heels you'll never wear again? There's a birthday girl searching for them right now. Your one and done look is about to pay for your next night out. Or at least the ride home. Your style can make you cash. Start selling on Depop, where taste recognizes taste.
K-pop Demon Hunters Haja Boys breakfast meal and Huntrix meal have just dropped at McDonald's. They're calling this a battle for the fans. What do you say to that, Rumi?
It's not a battle. So glad the Saja Boys could take breakfast and give our meal the rest of the day.
It is an honor to share.
No, it's our honor.
It is our larger honor.
No, really. Stop.
You can really feel the respect in this battle. Pick a meal to pick a side.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
At participating McDonald's while supplies last.
Well, that was a great weekend for most people, but for Ulster fans, like Adam, please do stay. I'm sure it will be nice. Let's start the show. Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Interbro Show, your home for all things Irish rugby across the men's and women's game. Joining me tonight, we have D3 Dave, Sufton Adam, who may not be standing up for the Ulstermen this week, and Treaty Ben, which I'm allowed to say this week, considering it was a non-hurling and well, there may have been football, I don't really care. Gents, I was going to skip the pleasantries, but I might just start, Ben, with the fact that we've got AIL finals on this weekend. I know we'd like to cover them in a bit more depth, but Blackrock against UL Bows in the women's final, St Mary's against Clontarf in the men's final. Tickets are cheap. It's in Dublin. It's on Sunday. It's on TG Car. For anyone who's thinking about shooting into this one instead of like Mayo or Roscommon, for instance, on Sunday, not that I'd, gall you of a moo, what would you say to them?
Go. It's always an excellent day. The women's final also, don't just go for the men's final, do the women's final. Both Blackrock's going to be a cracking game. I know it's an all Dublin men's final. Look, what can you do? But it promises to be an excellent game. Anyone in Limerick, Bows are doing a bus up, including a ticket for 30 quid. Find it on their socials. Thoroughly recommend getting on. Last year they did both games. I presume they're doing the same this year. But if you're in Dublin, if you're near a train and don't want to watch GA this weekend, please go. Promises to be an excellent day. And support AIL, which has been excellent this season in general. Ideally, my beloved Cookies and do better next year. Come on.
It has been a great season. I look forward to going to it. I'll be there covering it. It was only when you said that, I was like, oh, 30 quid is cheap. And I was like, that's still dearer because I don't need a match ticket, even though I'm going to be there. But
they are including the ticket for anyone on the fence. I am hoping to be in Park Queeve, so unfortunately, I'm not going. Park Queeve and Stone Park. So unfortunately,
busy
I'm not
weekend.
going up myself.
Busy weekend for a lot of us.
If you are looking for something to do on Saturday, go. It'll be an excellent day, or Sunday even. Go. Excellent day out. Enjoy it. I'd be very jealous. Tell us in the comments if you go, please.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And David, you're in the midst of your rugby travails as it stands. You were in Galway, as was I last weekend. You'll be in Limerick this weekend as well, with, of course, the man himself there. I just want to know, what was your thoughts on that game at the weekend in Galway, just from a purely atmospheric point of view?
The atmosphere was phenomenal. Like it was brilliant. Like that's the second time now I've been to the Dexcom. It's been sold out both times. It was hopping. The vibes are just really good. Like I know there's a lot of people who like have bemoaned in the past that like the days of being able to buy a schoolboy ticket to go to Lansdowne and watch Ireland play are gone, and they are. And the reason why is inflation and attendances and money to be made and all that. And I just felt like if you had the opportunity to go back in time and get in at the ground floor of a great team, just getting going, that's what this is. And there's loads of people doing that and loads of families doing it. So there's a lot more kids than you usually see at an Ireland game. A lot more female supporters, obviously, than you see an Ireland game, and the energy was just there. Like There was a group behind me who were there was three of them getting Ireland's call going by themselves and managing to get everybody else involved, irrespective of what was or wasn't happening on the pitch. And the under 21s game was on before, so people were already like in the stadium. The place was well full, well before kickoff. And yeah, no, the atmosphere was just it was class. And I don't know, I feel like there's a decent connection between the players and the team. Um, Probably helps that there's I don't know, like because it's that step closer to professionalism, like as in more recent. Yeah, it just feels like that like even before the game, one of the players was like in front of the main stand chatting to two people, then hopped the fence and ran back on the pitch. So it's just like the atmosphere was great. The mood is great, and then the performance kind of like. But it's always great when you have that kind of vibe, and then it gets backed up by the performance. But no, it was class. Like it was such a great day, and like always, it's a great city, and being there even in the hour and a half I was waiting to get the train back home. It was good crack. So no, it was phenomenal. I was really glad I made the journey as well. It was a long day,
Yeah.
but it was worth it.
Ah, it was. It really was. And cheap tickets as well, is great. And it was a sunny day. And I genuinely do believe that if it had actually ended on that last kick, then that N17 at the end would have been like clipped up and shared everywhere. But
Yeah.
the game didn't end, which was really nice because you'd have
It
heard
was
it.
so
It was
there were people
it
ready
was
to
really
go,
loud.
and then it was like, what's going on?
Genuinely. And
What's
then by the
happening?
time it actually finished, people had actually been like, well, we may as well go. Like
Yeah.
we already think it's over. So it kind of changed the dynamic. But and I'll leave it on this before we will get back onto it later. I was speaking to someone who was doing work, kind of social stuff at the game, and she's like, "Who do you think is the person that was like most like this is the player we want to see?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't know, probably Eve Higgins or Anna McGann, because you think of TikTok, Katrina Finn, actually, which I found quite amazing because Katrina Finn is number one uncapped, two only 19, and three doesn't exactly have a huge YouTube following yet, but it does kind of show that that is the importance. And even when you heard when Anne McGann came on, that massive roar, and like that's not just people over from Athlone, that is the genuine like because she's big on TikTok, and I think that's really cool. And I think we need more personalities in the men's game that aren't like guys who raise their eyebrows but actually fondle each other on the field, so and end up on traitors. Thinly veiled criticism aside, we're going to get on to our first Interpro of the day or of the week. As Leinster raided Ravenhill and left with a full 5 points, coming out 29-21 winners on Friday night. And Adam, we're going to start with Ulster. We usually start with the winners, but we've got so much winning to discuss. We might just get the losing side out of the way. Um, Ulster have fallen flat in a big way, and we were saying it before we came on air. It kind of feels like the air is going out of the Ulster balloon a small bit. There's injuries creeping up. The performances aren't as good. He's just ducked out of the call there for anyone who's on audio. I don't blame him. He just said, nah, feck this. Spurs is hard enough. Never mind this shit as well. But what's your thoughts on that? Do you think Ulster, this was a tired and kind of flat performance?
I think it shows a lot of our depth issues. I think it shows how well depth have it, like depth is in Leinster, but it also shows the massive fatigue that we are probably suffering with in Ulster with our massive injury list and our somewhat broken scrummaging even when we have our subs come on. I don't think any game is helped by in the first 7 minutes losing Angus Bell, one of the best head props in the world, and then James Hume, who is really, I think this year especially, has been really important in our backline with organizing defensive and attacking roles. I think that really took the wind out of our sails at the very first point. But even then, I do think that Ulster in a way, we're just so rattled and so pressured by Leinster. It was just it was exhausting to watch in the first half. It was exhausted purely on a pure like I don't see any way out of this standpoint. It didn't look like we were going to win it at all, even when we did have a flurry of tries because of a red card. But I did find it just like frustrating things like I saw a really interesting article. I think it was on the Irish Independent about how referees are getting too personal with the players and like calling them by I know, but I did get really frustrated by the way that Brace would have shrugged off Ian Henderson for something that Leinster would have done, but then we got
I,
pinged
I I
for it
think
a
I
couple of
think
minutes
not
later.
not not to always stand up for a freeze because that's the furthest thing than what I do. But I think in that instance he was very much standoffish to both guys. I thought he was standoffish to both and did bring them over at one stage and basically say, if you're going to keep complaining at me, I won't get any work done.
Yeah.
So, but
I
but
just
each their own on that, of course.
Yeah, I just think it was like massively. I think it was more frustration coming out of me in my hindsight of the rugby, but the Ward brothers were the only redeeming factor for me. I did think the Ward brothers scoring all the tries and having that little bit of hope was good. I'm starting to gather my suspicions around some of our players that I feel like aren't gonna stay and why they might not be staying. I don't think Werner Cox had a very good couple of weeks in terms of actual playing. I think he's got a lot to sort of do. I noticed in the Challenge Cup games that he wasn't really like there was a couple of tackles that he did, yes, granted, against Leinster that were very good, but I there wasn't any of that explosiveness. I felt like what Leinster did very well, to be fair, and I'm not just singling out Werner Koch, but I think in that back line, what Leinster were very good at was really, really pressuring Jack Murphy to pass it to Stuart McCuskey, who was already covered by Robbie Henshaw or Gary Ringrose. I think
Can I just jump in there for a second? I
yeah,
think they knew how to do that because Jack
they
Murphy
were
is a very
not.
stereotypical Leinster 10. He's not much of a
Uh,
carrying threat. He's more of a kicker. So
yeah,
don't put all the pressure on him because that's just going to put space for someone else. But just on your thing for Werner Koch, because I have, as you all know, I have copious amounts of notes here. And Werner Koch, who is an Ulster winger, has played. This is not great podcasting. He has started one second now, the last 8 games, and he's only come off
it's
early in one of them. So
it's the thing.
that's a lot of rugby under
It,
your belt in
it
a quick
I,
span.
I think it's a lot of it is a lot to do with fatigue. Like we know that he's a really good player on his day, but I feel like it's a lot to do with fatigue. And I do think that I don't think our players aren't managed well enough. It's really, and I think it's getting shown by how many injuries we do have. Our injury list is extortionate. Like we've got so many
Do you want me
players
to read
down.
it out?
Go for it.
You can hit mute on the computer. So basically the players listed on Ulster's injury report as of today: Angus Bell, Rob Herring, Tom O'Toole, Scott Wilson, Rory Maguire, James McNabney, Nick Timoney, Bryn Ward, Stuart Moore, James Hume, Jude Postlethwaite, Robert Balakoon, while Mike Lowry is an injury doubt. So definitely question marks there in terms of what sort of team they're going to be able to field on Saturday.
I would rather a weaker team get fielded for Munster and keep everyone in bubble wrap for Exeter because I do think that with it felt like we had a lot of like promising rotation at the very start of the season, but this season, like because we're in the second half of the season and because before this game we didn't have an injury crisis, which we normally have before this part of the season, and we normally struggle with injuries way before this. I think it's like put us in a weird position where we're now like, oh shit, we don't have any front rows. Scotty Wilson was playing for what the best part of 25 minutes on one leg. And they were wondering why like there was injuries. You had Sam Crane who played for 73 minutes of the game. Tom O'Toole came off injured. It's those things where I was looking at as an Ulster fan and I thought, yeah, if we win at this, what cost? Do we
Yeah.
want to play? Do we want to play like we put in a really good fight in those last 15 minutes, and that was a good thing. Ian Henderson played another full 80, I think, as well, which is a good thing. But it's still about micromanaging the minutes now. We're playing two competitions. We want to stay in two competitions for as long as possible. But at the minute, we could get knocked out next week. There's still a small chance, but there's still a chance. The URC is very, very, very close
Yeah.
that we could be out of URC as well. And
Yeah.
it's just mental considering how well we've played this year. And I do think it's micromanaging those minutes and actually trying to find it's an issue in all of Ireland. I think Bar Connacht actually finding props in our academy. The likes of McAllister is going to do well, but it's those things as well that's really frustrating because we're down to our last what three props in the whole of Ulster apparently. So and we can't even call on Leinster because they don't have any either.
Yeah, well that's true. There's a lot of prop injuries at the moment. Before we get David's thoughts on this one, I might just throw it to yourself, Ben, because I'd made note of this. Leinster, because of the win, because they picked up 5 points as well, top spot is very much in play for them. So the table as it stands, Glasgow 55, Stormers 51, Leinster 51. I'm going to discount the rest because I don't think any of the rest of them are going to threaten. Glasgow and Stormers play this weekend. Glasgow and Stormers both play Ulster over the last 2 weeks. Leinster are 100% in the quest, in the running for a top spot now after the full 5 points, aren't they?
Yeah, it's unfortunately it's kind of set up for Leinster to do it really. I mean, Glasgow have to go to Ravenhill last day of the season.
Yeah.
Leinster have a relatively easy run in by their own. I know they have Toulon and the potential European final to come up, but if you're a Leinster fan sitting the first 5 weeks of the season, you're looking at that saying we're third, we're 4 points off top, two nice games to play, level with second. There's a home semi-final at minimum there from, let alone top the thing and get the whole thing through a Viva quarter, a Viva semi, and then see where the final ends up being played at that point. But, and I'm sure David
Very
will agree
true.
with me, Leinster now are prime position to minimum get second, if not top the thing the whole way through.
Yeah, and there may not even be home advantage for anyone because Glasgow and Leinster can't
Should we all
host
just go to
a
Cape
final.
Town again? It was lovely the last time Cape Town had a final. It was
To be
great.
fair, there's a 2 week gap this year, so
The Hill
you never
Dickinson,
know.
the
The
Hilly
Hill
No,
Dicky,
Dicky.
oh, the
we're
Hilly
not
Dicky, the Big
going.
Dicky Stadium. Just come over here, lads.
Do you
We're
know
inviting
what?
Fiji over.
I'm gonna throw this out in the whim, right? If they do decide to play that game in like the Hill Dickinson Stadium, I think we may all have to go just out of like
That
solidarity for
it would
Adam.
just be it would
It's
just be
also not going to
great.
happen.
It's a
And
nice
Um,
setup for the Fiji game. You start with URC and
yeah,
then you have Fiji, and it's fine.
yeah,
yeah.
Sorry.
you
Start with a
start with
really, really good quality rugby, and then England.
the England seconds. Don't look at the Premiership scores this week, but also at the same time, if you're a Premiership fan who for some reason likes this channel, there'll also be English shows next season. But David, I'm going to bring you in here. Um, my notes basically just said an emphatic beatdown because they were 29-0 up in this game before the hour mark. Leinster were. The Max Deegan red card, it was what it was. I thought it was 100% the right call personally. Some people came at me on Twitter. Also in the news, the sky is blue and grass is green.
Wait,
But
what? There was
this
debate over the red? Sorry.
there was, but there's always, the way it is with red cards in rugby. There's always someone saying something. But
Wild. Sorry, David.
but yeah, no, it was. David, on that, an incredibly emphatic Leinster performance. And again, to kind of quote something I said, Leinster just always do this in interpros. It doesn't matter who's on the field, doesn't matter where they're playing, doesn't matter what that other team's form is like. Their ability to just hit you with punch after punch after punch in these games, it has to be commended because that's kind of what happened here, isn't it?
Yeah, except for that one time in Croke Park. Also than that, yeah, no,
Don't know
it's
what you're talking about there.
it was pretty emphatic. Like it felt hard fought. Like I remember, I think it was 15 minutes we scored the first try. It took effort. Like it was what's the word good for it that whole way, and it felt like Leicester were grinding through it. But I definitely felt like I think it was when we were on 15 points, we it was two tries ahead, and for all the dominance, it felt like two tries was not as much as I maybe would have hoped. And I kind of feared Ulster because I know what they're able to do. I know the wingers they have. I know the Ward brothers. And I just felt like we need to build as much of a lead as we can because this is not very much like the Edinburgh game. I was like, this is not going to last forever. This is going to shift at some point. It has to. And we need to build as big a buffer as we can. Now we did that. We kept going. We got those next two tries, got the bonus point, 29-0 up. I didn't really, as much as I was happy to have the buffer, I wasn't over the moon about the fact that we then stopped. Um, Ulster did have their resurgence. They actually scored their first try before Max Deegan went off the pitch. I think they might have been on a yellow, or they certainly went on to a yellow shortly thereafter. And then it was when Deegan went off the pitch, they scored the next two to make it a much tighter affair than it felt like. But it meant that Leinster stopped scoring at 53 minutes. So for as good as we played up to then, and we played excellent. I'm frustrated to have that be the case at that stage. Definitely after Ulster scored that third try, we kind of went into a defensive pattern and it kind of worked, which is maybe what you need to do when you're down to 14 men. You need to manage things a little bit more, but it
It's not for
felt
nothing, but they also made a lot of their pack substitutions just before Deegan got the red card. So
that's true as
they were
well.
transitioning
Yeah,
to end the game.
yeah, yeah, and the way we substituted things, like we kept Sam on for the whole game. I think we kept Luke on for the whole game as well. So
Mm.
there were, we wanted it. And that was the other thing as well. Like going up there, I think I feared that. Like I thought if we got out of there with 2 bonus points, it'd be good. I felt like Ulster were in a good place. We'd rotated. It was going to be tough. Once we got the lead, I was like, man, I really, really want this now. I want these points. It could be such a big boost to get them. So I think Leinster will be happy to get out of there with the five, but frustrated by the fact that they get almost in the inverse of what we've been doing the last few weeks, where we started incredibly strong and then just kind of hung on at the end. Ulster, would imagine, would be furious that they were able to fire these three excellent tries. Bryn Ward is like a wrecking ball, like it's unreal what you have to do to try and stop that guy. But to not even come away with a losing bonus point or a try bonus point, I think that'll feel rough because I felt like Ulster in that last bit were good for it. It was maybe just the case of you can't wait until past 55 minutes to score your first points in the game, and still expect to win like as good as you play after that. So I think both teams will have regrets, but obviously Leinster will have less because we managed to come out of there with 5 points. And yeah, it really sets up the run in from here pretty good. And hats off to Ulster for managing to match us in terms of prop injuries. I didn't think that was possible, but there you go.
Yeah, well, it used to be Munster's billing, and now it is, and then it became Leinster's, and now Ulster said, you know what? Hold my beer. I'm
Gotta
gonna.
say, I'm so glad for once it's not us. Like as
I mean,
Just
often as
kind
injuries
of.
wait.
are, it's always us.
Just
Kind of. You
wait.
still have Roman Salnoa out injured. In
He's
fact,
back.
actually, yeah, he
He's
was actually
back.
picture training today. I did see that on info.
It, it's
Shout out to all the photographers, by the way. There was some great shots for the Dexcom the other day because obviously when you're working, you're trying to grab different photos and whatever. There was some. It's just such a picturesque place. And then me trying to get a picture of Lochatolia, and it just didn't work because I'm just bad at photography. But anyways, unfortunately, you're going to have to hear more of me because next up we're going to talk about Connacht. A great day for the parish, not just the Connacht one in Cape Town. But Galway Hurlers big win over Kilkenny as well. I just had to get that in there. Anyone on video can see him wearing the Galway jersey. Just a great day for the parish. Fucking mighty. Don't care about the rest of the counties in the province at all, at all. You'll get to notice that over the next couple of weeks, folks. But an all-time scalp for Connacht, defeating the Stormers 32-24 in Cape Town. And I think no matter above all else, like it was a great performance. Cape Town, to be fair, would have had a tough week with the passing of their general manager, and I'm not going to try and play that down, even if I do think the Stormers are a little bit hairy, and I've said this in other podcasts. What really impressed me, and I think the rest of you will agree with me on this, was how Connacht's youth said no. It was them that dragged them over the line. Like you had Bowen and Elo. They're playing like veterans at the moment, naturally. Darren Ray, who's obviously an international. Ben Murphy and Sean Naughton, neither of which are old guys. The oldest of them is 24, 25. They had two tries. John Devine and Hugh Gavin were the two centres for the basically most of the game. They're both very young. Harry West was on the wing, his first ever start in the wing. Matthew Victory came on early and was absolutely brilliant. Like, it's one thing to win these games with your Bundys and your Jack Carthy's and your Keane Prendergast. It's another thing for your Bowens, your Victories, your Divines to be dragging you over the line. Because I think that is huge. And I think it's testament to Stuart Lancaster. It's testament to the depth within the province. And I've said this for a long time. I've always felt that Connacht would have been better off. And it's a throwaway. And I think Ben and David and Adam, you'll have heard it before of like, just invest in what you have. But because of my age, I'm 25. I've watched most of these guys play schools rugby. I have said it for a long time. Invest in what's there. Trust me. Just trust me. Like I know there is quality in this bracket, and it does, go down in numbers a small bit for a few years after this. But there's quality there, and you're starting to see it. Like John Devine, Hugh Gavin, as I said in the centres, Harry West, um, Bowen and Elo. It's a little bit different. But Darren Murray, Niall Murray's not an old guy. Matthew Devine's obviously leaving. Sean Naughton, again, he's not Connacht produced, but like he's come on leaps and bounds in the last 12 months at Connacht, and it is absolutely fantastic to see. And David, I'm gonna bring you back in there because what's really happened now is we have a top eight race between nine teams, and the teams I did not mention on the outside of Leinster and the other top two is you have the Lions on 48 and fourth. You've got Connacht in ninth on 44. They play each other this weekend. If Connacht can somehow get two wins down in South Africa for the first time in their history, they will be in prime position to make the playoffs. And I don't think people would have said that in January. I certainly didn't. But it's the way the table is unfolding. You're now looking at Connacht and saying they're the ones who are going to break into that top eight, even though they're slightly outside as of right now.
Yeah, well, it's the mad thing that, like, I was talking to another a Connacht supporter at the weekend, and he said if Connacht can beat the Lions the way they beat the Stormers, there's a conceivable thing where Connacht will come back from South Africa, not only in the top eight but in the top four. That's insane. Like that's such a turnaround for them to make. I think it'll be frustrating from a Connacht point of view that they had such a great win in Cape Town over the Stormers, and yet it still leaves them work to do to get into the top eight. I think that performance feels like it warranted getting in. But it just goes to show how tight that competition is. As you said, like I don't even know that I put like Leinster and the Stormers. I say Glasgow are the only ones who are, and like Glasgow aren't even that secure, but like Leinster and Stormers are only 3 points ahead of the Lions, who themselves are 1 point ahead of Ulster, who are 1 point ahead of Munster, who are even with Cardiff, who are 1 point ahead of the Bulls, who are 1 point ahead of Connacht. Like it's so close. It's kind of hard to say who's going to be where. With Connacht, I think if they can back that up, absolutely. They'll be good for it. But that's been the thing with Connacht. Can they back it up? Can they actually do it 2 weeks in a row? It's going to be tough. It's going to be
Well,
at altitude. They'll be up against the Lions, who are um they're not the highest ranked in the table team of the South Africans, but they did win the South African Shield, so they tend to play quite well when they're at home, even against other South African teams. So it'll be tough. Like it'll be tough anyway for Connacht, but it will be tough that game. It'll be a hard one for them to front up again and to rise to that level again. I just thought it was a really brave performance from Connacht as well. Like they some of the things they went for, particularly like it's always a tricky thing to do, but like when they had the lead at the end, there's still time to play. The Stormers have possession. Sean Naughton's go for that intercept. Like if that doesn't work, they're kind of they could be in a really bad place really fast. But he put himself in the right position, picked it off, and that kind of finished it. It was like, and that's it. Like he's a young guy. He's new to the setup. But he came up with the clutch play. So they'll be
and
looking to
it's
that
it's it's
again.
confidence. It's the confidence of winning. Some say it's naivety of youth, but it's the confidence of being in a winning structure and a winning team for a few weeks. And like because of that, like they lost Montpellier like last week, and no
Yeah.
one's talking about it because this was not the sign of a team who just bowed out of Europe, was it?
No, but that's the thing as well. Like I remember people saying it about Ireland when Dan Sheehan's and Hugo Keenan's and even Jack Crowley's came up, that these guys, that like when it came to say facing New Zealand, these guys didn't have a history of losing games. These guys didn't know what it was to lose all the time. They'd gotten more used to winning, and so they brought a lack of fear. And so I prefer to think of that the youth don't carry the scars of the old, and that liberates them to try things. And they'll pick up their scars as they go along. But if you're not, it was a Stephen King line, if you're not too big for your boots when you're young, how are you ever going to fill them? Like, so they need to, embrace it. If you've got these young guys, let them be young, let them go for it. And like, it's not always going to work, but it's way better to try. And if it comes off for Connacht now, they're in a great position where they only needed to come off. There's only 3 games left. It's so close. They only needed to come off for like 2 of those 3 games, and they should be able to get themselves back to a top eight. That means knockouts. Knockouts means anything can happen. It's 80 minutes of rugby. It's 160 minutes of rugby, and you're into a URC final. It means you're back into the Champions Cup next year, which, given the stadium they have down there now, would be great for Connacht and for Galway. So yeah, no, I think they put themselves in a phenomenal position, and it's a testament to, again, the URC. We say it every year, best league. The top 3 teams last weekend, not only did none of them win, none of them picked up a single point. Like that's how often does that happen? So yeah, no, it's left the table in a really interesting position, and it's a case of there's going to be 8 matches each weekend for the last 3 weekends, and you're kind of going to want to watch all 8 matches.
If this was a video game, you'd say there's a rubber band effect in
Yeah,
place across the teams. Mad stat. Well, number one, I have to get this off my chest. Fidelity Secure Drive Lions is an absolutely terrible name for a rugby team. Secondly, mad stat. The Lions have played 5 games at home against non-South African teams. This is how many points they scored. 29, 49. Let me skip down for 2 seconds. 54, 42, 54. Fastest finger first. Guess who was the team who held them to the least amount of points out of that list?
Us.
No. You ship 49 points.
Oh,
Lens. No, Lens
No.
didn't play him.
Gonna give you a hint. They're Welsh.
Newport,
No. Close. Second least.
Cardiff.
Scarlets.
Scarlets, yeah.
Yeah.
Scarlets held them to 29 points at the start of the season. So the fact that they've gone 54, 42, 54 in their last 3 home games makes you think the Connacht are going to be in for it, especially a 3 o'clock game, 5 o'clock at altitude.
Like,
You're into your
if you
tour,
look
you're
at
going
the
to be
Lions'
tired.
points differential, they've scored the most points of anyone in the league.
Have they?
Yeah.
I'm on
475
by
points scored.
by a
a
decent chunk as well.
I'm on half
Second
screen,
is
so I can't
second is
see.
the Bulls, who are like eighth. Yeah, but the Lions have scored 30 more
It's
than them,
Lions on
475.
475, Bulls on
Jesus, yeah.
444, and then it's
Ulster
Glasgow and the
420. Hey.
Stormers.
Hey.
Glen
No, it's
Ulster.
Ulster 420. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
And then 401, 402, 401.
475 points is mental.
Oh, we're such kids. But yeah, it's
It's
going
a
to be a
test
tough ask
actually.
for Connacht.
There is an interesting. It's just numbers. Numbers don't really matter. But there's a team in the top 8 on 475 points, and there's a team who are only 2 match points and 3 positions behind them who've scored 290 points.
Is that
So
Cardiff?
Cardiff, yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
Cardiff have been a lot of nip and tuck.
you'd
Now, they've
expect the
also
Proper
Lions.
rugby
conceded
matches.
they've also
Brexit means
conceded
Brexit
100 less
matches.
points. So what that tells you is Cardiff games are fucking boring. That's what
You'd
that
I
expect
don't
the
want to
Lions are
get
going to
supported.
pass 5
Please
points.
You're just annoyed you haven't dried off since you went over to Cardiff that
That's
night.
true. I'm still finding water in those pools.
We have a
It's like
Welsh
when you go to
podcast.
the
It's
beach.
great. Please listen to it.
It's like when you go to the beach and you find sand in your socks like 3 months later. That's how David wakes up in the morning from being in Cardiff.
Like, the Lions are
But
going to
yeah,
pass 500 points on Saturday, scored this season. You assume they're going to score
probably.
15.
Yeah, I'm
Most
not
teams
going to do it.
do.
I'm on half screen. I'm not going to do it like
25.
the last few years, but that is really,
Okay.
really impressive. Before we move on, gentlemen, because we got 2 more games to discuss, we're flying at times wise. Well, we're kind of a little bit behind, but close enough. Just a reminder to subscribe to get all the latest Global Gainline channel content from Women's Six Nations, URC, Top 14, Champions Cup, lots of Adam in there, a lot less of the rest of us. I think people tend to like that. Adam's wearing a jersey. Shout out to Ulster. People seem to like that as well in the comments. And as I've said for a few weeks, this is not a bad sign. We are looking for hosts for provincial podcasts set to drop next season. So leave a comment down below if you're interested, or message myself or the show on Twitter, or maybe get someone who you know has a podcast to reach out, or even Kubla Focal, if there's any Irish speaking podcasts, we'd be more than interested to listen about that. But staying in order of kickoff times, and I only realized this, that's
Sorry.
Adam completely out of the reckoning.
Sorry, I've just thought of something there. Can we have
Go
like
on.
a TG Caher version to the way they do of SpongeBob? But can we have it of this? Like, I want the same guy doing all of our voices, just in like different accents. That would be class. Imagine that. Anyway, just broadening our
They have to
horizons,
use
guys.
Ulster Irish for you, though. That's the only
What,
thing.
Ulster Scots?
No, Ulster Irish. Donegal
Ulster
Irish.
Donegal
The
Irish.
person does the voices on Instagram. Can someone tag them, please, and be like, "Look, we have a proposition for you." Please.
How much do I get paid? Nothing.
we-
Just pure vibes.
We can get you a mug. By the way, we do have merchandise. I don't think we've ever said it on this podcast.
I don't think so either. No, I'm not a
we
great
do
host
have
when it comes to these things.
we do have merchandise, but we can offer the SpongeBob Irish guy a mug. Anyway,
Or we could just buy him a
The
drink.
merch
like normal
definitely appeals
men.
to 3 of the 4 provinces. We promise you'll love it. Please buy it.
Does
We
it?
get none of the money. Please buy it.
Anyways, I only realized when I was like halfway through doing the notes that I was doing these in order of kickoff. but to the Dexcom in Galway as Ireland crushed Italy 57 points to 20 in front of a record-breaking crowd of 9,020. I think it was. I should know. I was there. I wrote it down. Um, Ben, I'll start with yourself. And again, I'm kind of going to use the word emphatic. It was an emphatic victory for Ireland. 57 points scored, which is their most ever in this fixture. At one stage, we were looking up, well, sorry, hmm, humble brag. I was looking up the record score because I wasn't really doing anything that needed to go to print and get paid. So I was looking up the record score for the journalists around me. We didn't quite crack that, but that was testament to the performance. It was an unbelievable performance by Ireland in the first half.
It was incredible. It's everything that I think we wanted from the week before. We said we played very well in that second half. Looked like there was a decent performance in us. There was something to fight for. Then you go to Galway. You've a record crowd for a women's game in this country. Atmosphere is excellent. Aoife Wafer gets an early try, and then Bevian Parsons kicks in. And first half hat trick. The crowd sounded incredible at that point. We looked like we were on a proper roll. Never really let Italy into the game at all at any point. They got a really nice try off. I think it was Madia's try, and she broke down the right wing, which was excellent. But look, Ireland we were emphatic. We were in very, very good, but look, it's what we needed to do. Small hat tip to an Anna McGann came in. That cheer could have been heard from, I'd say, Mayo, let alone inside in the sports grounds. It was insane. Yes.
For people on audio, I just pointed at
my
Galway crest again.
Are you from Connacht? Sorry.
I am, yeah. Everyone knows this. I make more Ballinasloe references than anyone else who's ever been from Ballinasloe.
That cheer was entirely Caelan and no one else in that ground.
I was in the press box, excuse me. I did stand up when Bevan Parsons scored her hat-trick try because that was insane. Like that third try, last try of the half, genuinely find me a better try all year. That is going to be right up there.
39 minutes. It's probably going to be tried at tournament. It forced Italy to empty their front row, which was a bit weird, but still fun nonetheless. It was fun. There was the try, a load of props, and then the conversion had to wait till the subs were made, which made no sense. Look, it was. I don't really know what more we can say other than what more do we want. It was a perfect way to kick off Six Nations now. Let England do what they're going to do. It's fine. Second is there for us.
Yeah, and it blew off a few cobwebs as well in terms of the attacking play. One thing that we praised last week was edge defense. Edge defense probably took a step back this week, but there was a new 12, which means a different partner for the 13, and there was a new left winger. So there was a little bit of chop and change, and I imagine that's
the forward in me just needs to point out as well. Aoife Wafer was insane.
Yeah,
she was insane.
If Bevan Parsons scores 2 tries, I think Wafer gets man the match. It's the hat trick hero at home thing, and that's nothing to discredit Bevan, who was incredible. I thought the entire back
she was
brilliant.
Excellent, but the forward in me just has a bit of that scrum cap was everywhere.
Yeah.
For 80 minutes, she was
I'm surprised you're not praising Nancy McGillivray, seeing she was a 12. But Adam, we've mentioned records broken so many times. We're going to be talking about it later on. The RFU have already confirmed 20,000 tickets sold for the Scotland game on Super Sunday in round 5. But the fact that Ireland are breaking these records, that you have this unbelievable visceral atmosphere, N17 belted out at the end of the game, banners and everything for the players. I remember Eve Higgins, when she was doing her opera on her, seeing a banner and said, I'm going straight over there and I'm going to sign it because I think it had sign something. It was something like that. It was on a sign. There's this relationship with team that I don't think we've ever seen for a women's sports team in Ireland. I'm not trying to discredit the soccer team, who, again, I was the journalist in the press box who was watching that in case you heard other podcasts mention it, when they beat Poland. But they are unbelievable. But this connection feels incredibly real, incredibly real. And that's why these records are going to continue to be broken, isn't it?
It's the popularity has become they are fast becoming celebrities and household names, but they're also keeping that sort of look, we are actually human about them. And I feel like that's what we need, especially in a sport where you can easily go the other way. And I think with this Ireland team and their social media game is also exceptional, I must say. We did have the release the fleece, which took Ireland by storm, and you could still get the fleeces now. which
Some of us already have them. Thank you very much.
so I might wait till payday or else it goes down in price because of shipping prices. Anyway, um, but yeah, it's those type of things, them being more personal, them being more like relatable to things. It's like it makes the game so much better. And you can see it in England as well. Like when you saw it in England with Twickenham a couple of weeks ago, you saw it like you saw them play in Murrayfield this week. The game is getting bigger, and long may it continue to when we do sell out Murrayfield regularly, when we do sell the Aviva out regularly. It's just so much better because they're deserving so much as well because they're a very good team. They're really well liked as well. They're so likable. Everything about it is so like good for the game, and it's so positive because as we said, like you've got a couple of heads in the men's game that are too big for their boots, that are too there's just but 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 in the women's game, it's they're much more relatable. They're so they all seem approachable. Like they're every single one of them looks like you can approach them and just chat to them, and you can be
And
friends
they
with them.
are.
And it's
Like
yeah,
having done the media day last Wednesday, we recorded last Tuesday. I went up to Dublin and we interviewed Fiona Tweet. David, you're better on that name. How do you pronounce it?
Shoot.
Why am I? No, I would have said toot. I
It's
definitely would
Okay.
say
Shoot. I'm
tweet.
fairly sure it's Shoot. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I just know that you've said that name more often than I have, and I've always been like, I think he's right. But yes, Fiona Toot, she is so unbelievably open and chatty and like to an incredible degree. And even the coaches, like Gareth Steenson, was
yeah,
so like phones get turned
yeah,
off and he's sitting down. He's like, we're going to I'll chat away to you. That relatability, that access, it's real. And I always come back to the two words I always seem to use is like real and different because at the end of the day, like it is different. It is real. Do you know? And you can try and put into like parasocial relationships or whatever different column or box you want to put it into. But at the end of the day, like that moment with Eve Higgins, like that moment with Anne McGann, like Katrina Finn being sought after before the game despite still being uncapped. That's very real on the ground reports. It's not social media, it's not ticket sales, it's not some binary number. It's what people are telling you. And I think that is unbelievable. And David, I'll end the chat on Ireland with yourself. Heading into next week, right? We had a decent but not perfect defensive performance in Twickenham with very little attacking rugby. Last time out, a lot of attacking rugby, very expansive. Once that Emily Lane try was scored, it was like, okay, right, shackles are off, we can do whatever. Defensively, not as good. Granted, they were playing into a stiff breeze in the second half. So, where is the balance? And do you think they could find that balance ahead of what is ultimately the game, the revenge game, the battle for second, potentially a battle for a title if, France could ever, hold up their end of the bargain in round five against France? Do you think you've seen enough to say that Ireland can win in Claremont on Saturday?
Yeah, no, I think definitely. I think because now, like we've seen, as you said yourself, we've seen both directions. We've seen that they can put on defense, and like I said last week, and I maintained it this week, their defense against England was good, considering it was England they were playing against. And you can see the score that England ran up this weekend, if for context of what that England team is usually capable of. The fact that Ireland kept them um, to only was it two tries in the second half last week that like
Yep.
that England didn't get the chance to run away with it. Like the Ireland stayed in the fight well past the point where you would have reasonably expected them to be able to compete in the game, showed that they have the mettle and the determination to do that. This weekend in Galway showed the firepower. It showed what Bevan Parsons and Aoife Wafer can do when you let them. The first try, the lane try, I just loved it because it was such a scrum half try. Like it was such a just a fuck it. There's a gap. Let's go. Um, Italy caught panicking between do we tackle her or do we try to get back 10, and they made the wrong decision and she got through. Like it just set the tone really well. I think that there'll be maybe a minor bit of frustration that. I think there was a gap of about 20 minutes between tries in the latter half of the second half where um for Ireland, and like but it's at the same time when the wind goes against you and you've already scored that many, it can be hard to maintain the momentum. So they can be kind of forgiven for that. I think the match against England shows that when there's still fight needed, Ireland have 80 minutes in them to fight. And Galway showed that when the opportunity to score comes, they can take it. And I think if they can marry those two things, because it will take 80 minutes, and they will have to score more than the two tries they scored against England, that Ireland do have it. I think beating England was I think the fact that we came up not as close, but the fact that it was as competitive as it was made it sting a bit more when realistically that we never thought we were going to win that game. So the fact that we had any misgivings at all after the fact about what more we could have done, I think is in a weird way a positive. I just hope going into the France that we don't, because I think there's absolutely no reason that that shouldn't be an extremely competitive game, and the way that Ireland played the last two rounds should give them all the hope and all the ammunition they need to put in the kind of performance that can get them an away win in France, which would be huge. The fact that we sold 20,000 tickets already for that Scotland game, it's so perfectly timed that it's going to be when it is, because if we beat France next weekend, like the sky's the limit for how many more tickets we can sell for that game, and that would just be a phenomenal thing to see.
Yeah. As someone said in a group chat I'm in, it's very close to reaching the point where you sell FOMO tickets, where so many people are at it that other people want to go because they don't want to miss out. Like we're at that crest of a wave, and look, I hate influencer tickets and influencer hands out, but they're going to be next in line to be promoting it as well. That's the nature of the world, unfortunately. But
But it's why I said earlier, I was like, if you could get, you can't usually see when the train is about to leave the station. You can't usually see, you don't usually notice the thing when it's at the ground floor. If you had even a hint, and there should be more than a hint now, that that's what's about to happen here, particularly with the way the tickets are priced, why wouldn't you get on now?
yeah,
That you've got nothing to lose and everything to gain by being able to say, yeah, I was there. And the
that's
way
true.
this team plays, they're gonna put, like, whatever happens, they're gonna put on a cracking performance, and it's gonna be entertaining.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
yeah, there's just no downside.
I think we might be great PR for the IRFU, to be fair, in terms of how we're covering this. And of course, there's not many Irish rugby podcasts who are covering each and every week, so please do stay tuned for more. Finally, kind of finally, I always say finally for the last game, but we always do predictions. To Treviso, as Munster ran amok in an important 45-15 bonus point win in front of a large travelling support, it should be said. Ben, I think someone pointed out that it was Munster's biggest away win in like 3 years or something like that, winning by 30 points on the road. But the one thing that stood out to me, and again, inside baseball from Kalon, there was like seven journalists gathered around one laptop watching this in the press conference in the Dexcom the other day.
Was it your laptop?
No, it wasn't, which is kind of bad form on my behalf because my laptop was bigger than the person's whose laptop. It's not a competition, right? It's all about how you use it.
Size
But
doesn't
at
matter.
the
It's fine.
same time, at the same time, it's kind of my fault because I do have a big laptop. Like it's just the way it is. Anyways,
Humble
Ben,
brag.
Compensating.
fuck's sake. Skipping along quickly, Ben,
Derailed so fast.
so easily. This is why we always start 40 minutes late because we just get caught in a spiral. Ben, the one thing
God.
that stood out to me watching this game was Munster went back to a more direct brand of rugby. Probably the most direct they've played since I always use this game, Toulon, and they were better for it. Brilliant performance. Just shows a little bit of simplicity, and this team can click.
Yeah, like in what was, let's be honest, a tumultuous week for the club in general for a myriad of reasons. The
That we
players were
won't get
tasked
into.
that no, but like the players were tasked, and like Ty Burns said as much, with let go out and play and do something for this player group. And look, 7 minutes in, Calvin Nash runs in the corner. Congratulations on your new contract, by the way. I don't know if you listen, but excellent contract
Probably.
news. Same with Edwin. Excellent contract news to get them both tied down for a year and 2 years, respectively. But look, it's the performance I have been, on this podcast crying out for ages. We know this team can do it. We have the talent to play like this. There's been decisions in attack and decisions in defence in recent weeks that have gone against us. This was exactly what Munster can do. It's what we did in those first 4 games in the season. It's what we didn't do for a gap, which is why we're in this situation. And they did it again on Saturday. And it was almost shock and awe rugby at times. We know what we're doing. We're clear. We're concise. We have halfbacks that are controlling every facet of this game. We had a centre pairing that did everything asked of them. Andrew Smith took his form from Young Munster into this game on Saturday. looked fantastic. Yeah, Dad, get that plug in there. I'm sorry. But
Has to be done.
he looked fantastic. He looked as he's looked every week in Tom Clifford. He looked fantastic. Calvin looked as fit as he's looked all season. Got a lovely try 7 minutes in. What more can you want from there? Our pack were mean. Coombs, Klein, Kendellen when he came in, just battering people. A dog bow, as he always does when he comes in, does what a dog bow does. Really carried like a man possessed, rucked over everything. There was the only one other little hat tip just to Michael Alatoa. He's got given out to for scrummaging. He's got criticism for scrummaging, but he was excellent for that entire game Saturday he was on the pitch. Look, it's going to be a big ask again on Saturday. Ideally, Ulster can rotate from Munster POV. Sorry, Adam. But we go again. We need two more wins. 3 games to get them.
Yeah, well, that's it. Like Munster on 9 wins now. I think they finished with 9 wins last year or 10 wins last year, and they still have 3 games to go. So there's that side of it as well. I'm actually because David hasn't checked his phone, so I'm going to ask David for a split second, David, if you wouldn't mind just coming in there. Munster are. I'm not going to say they're starting to finish the season like a steam train because it's one performance, it's one game. There's a lot of road left to be ran.
Your campaign is the force of runaway freight train. Would you like to adapt further? What's that Simpsons quote?
Something like that. I can't remember it off the top
Runaway
of my
freight
head.
train. Yeah.
But they're starting to just show a little bit of something, and they are now very much in the hunt. They're 1 point behind Ulster. They played them this weekend in Thomond Park. You're kind of saying advantage Munster right now, compared to Ulster.
Yeah, just about. I mean, yeah, no, that it is advantage. Like it's in town, and I think we did the numbers, didn't we, earlier in the week? Like Munster do tend to win those games, absent everything else. I don't know, like it's such a like the there's such a now there's 2 different competitions going on here, so momentum swings between the two have to be recognized. But the fact that Connacht came out of the weekend they did against Montpellier and did what they did against Stormers, Ulster come out of what they did in Europe and then come into, what happened to them against Leinster. Munster come out of whatever it was they were doing on their week off and then come in against Benetton. Like, I don't know, it feels like form is a week long title. Like that's how long it lasts. So I don't know. It's going to be such a mad scrambly dash from here. Um Obviously, you could just say the teams that won are the teams you'd rather be right now. I actually remember asking, it was BJ both of that ones, about what's more motivating, a close loss or like in a 3 game series, what's more motivating to start with a loss or start with a win? And he's like, motivation kind of doesn't matter. You just want to get a win when you can get a win. So like that's what it boils down to. And Munster will be happier because they got the win. Ulster will be hurting because they didn't. Tails will be up. But yeah, it's going to come down to such a mad scramble. And like obviously Ulster are on the worst side of it when it comes to injuries. Um, Leinster have their list. Connacht have a growing list. Cal Ford, for anyone who didn't hear, is going to be out for the rest of the season, unfortunately. He's got a wrist injury. So like it's going to come back down to who can get the best 15 players on the pitch and who can get them humming for those 80 minutes. But yeah, it's really hard to know at this stage because things are swinging so much, and it'll be interesting to see if anyone manages to solidify for that run in, because it is going to come down to the fact, like it did last season. I think it's probably going to come down to the last weekend again, and unfortunately, whereas Ospreys at 10th probably can't challenge, they're probably a little bit too far outside the window at this point. Still not beyond them, but it's unlikely. It does feel like there's gonna be one team there that are gonna be like a Connacht are right now, 1 point off the team that gets in at 8th. But yeah, I suppose going into the weekend, you'd have to go with the win behind them, with it being at home. Munster probably have the wind up, but Ulster at the same time are going to look at that second half, those 3 tries they scored in quick succession against Leinster, and go, if we just do that earlier, we can cause trouble here.
Just do it for 80 minutes. I think that's a great strategy. Score more points than the opposition. As a man who loves spritzes, will tell you. Ben, I'm gonna get one word off you ahead of this week. We're going to take it that Munster are favourites, right? They're favourites, so they should win. If they do you think Munster can crack the top 4?
Yes, definitely. I'm shocking to the 4 of you and anyone who's followed this podcast. Listening, I don't rate Connacht all that highly. I think if we go full strength for the next 4 games, we can win the Dexcom. We can beat Lions and Thomond. Um, I'm slightly concerned, and we said this pre-recording, if we do get the BP win on Saturday, we may rotate for that Galway game. Especially if the Lions win, we won't overly need to target it. But top four is there.
Or it should be said, not having a Challenge Cup quarter final or having a full strength team against the Sharks may negate that need a tiny bit.
Yeah. And like, look, there's a home knockout game there for Munster. It's the way the season has played out, the way top eight or the third to eight is structured at the minute is kind of insane. You can get fourth, you're not going to push third Leinster if that kind of sun up at this point. But fourth is there for probably three teams in the URC. Munster, one of them, go get it.
I firmly believe it's advantage Bulls considering their run in, but I would not be surprised if the Bulls lost to the Scarlets this weekend and we're looking at a situation where the winner of Munster and Ulster sits in fourth place heading into the final two rounds. But predictions before we get into next week, I'm going to fly through these. Lions Connacht. Go on, heart my sleeve. Going to go with Connacht win. Why not? They are down players, as you said. Colin Ford has won them. Dave Heffernan is a doubt. And I think they were the two players that were got replaced in the first half of the last day. But we've seen enough from Connacht. We have seen that they can get a performance. We could see they can score tries. They have a high bonus point rate this year. So I think they are going to do this. Adam, Munster, Ulster, 5:30 Premier Sports on Saturday as well. The Cottle game at GG Carres is the Leinster game after this. If you were to call it, are you confident for Ulster?
Not really.
Oh,
Not really.
We started
This
on a
is the
downer, we finish on a
Yeah.
downer.
But I like to cast you back to May 10th, 2014, when we played
How do I mute this guy? Because otherwise we'll never get Ben back on the show.
Michael Heaney scored that day, and we had a bench with by the way, our starting front row was Callum Black, Rob Herring, and Andy Warwick playing tight head.
What
We
a man.
talk about a front row crisis. Our bench was Kyle McCall, Bronson Ross, and Adam Macklin. So there's three. Do you remember what them's?
I have a
And
program for that game upstairs. I might go and burn it.
I was there myself. It
You
was
could
great.
you could just give it to Adam.
I've
This
got that
doesn't explain
program.
how you think this weekend's game is going to go, though.
Well, I had to get a member in then somehow. I think it's gonna go very the way you expect it for us. I think we're going to put in a dogged performance, but I also think that we're going to go with a very heavily rotated team. I think it would make sense, and I think for now, at the minute, with the URC being so close, we might as well put everything into the Challenge Cup. I would have said something different if we would have beat Leinster on the weekend, but now, as I said, with injuries, put all eggs in one basket and just go for the Challenge Cup. So I'd say rotate for Munster and we'd lose.
Yeah, that's fair. Back to Benetton on Saturday night. Leinster, the visitors, TG for 7:45. David, in a word.
I hope everybody in Limerick appreciates the fact that I'm going to watch your stupid game rather than going to Italy to watch my stupid game.
This is a podcast meetup. It's different.
A podcast
Even
meetup
though I
that
may have to pull out at the last minute because I'm kind of covering the last game.
Adam flaked his way out of it and came
Ben and David Tolman time.
Came on hanging with his other friends.
By the way,
announcement-
David, just going to throw this in there. I've been at matches with Ben. You have not heard expletives like you will.
I've been at matches with David. I've been in Crow Park with David. He's heard
Sure,
worse.
he was a few rows back.
It's the perfect time to announce
It was
that Ben
it was
and
that
David-
game in Crow Park. Yeah. Or it was in
Ben
Crow
and David
Park,
are doing
yeah.
an autograph signing next to the bar on the east stand. That being that our second meetup
I'll be
is gonna
sitting in
at
the
Hill
chair that
Dickinson.
Darren Sweetnam sat in when he signed. Oh, no, it doesn't matter.
Our second meetup is going to be at the Hill Dickinson Stadium
For the
What was your
URC
question
Grand
again?
the
Final.
URC
Who's
final.
Who's going to win Leinster? Yeah, we'll win. As I think the
I agree.
weekend showed, Teresa or Rods. No, I think Leinster would want to keep building because they've shown real promise the last few weeks. The injuries are not good, but they seem to be forging just enough of a team out of what's left. Loose head prop is still a concern, but that shouldn't be a problem in this game. So I think there should be just enough of a functioning squad there. It'll be interesting considering next weekend how strong they go. But I hope Leo Cullen has learned the lesson of there's a very fine balance to be drawn between wrapping lads in cotton wool and having lads battle hardened. And we have not always balanced that well enough in the past. So I hope he gets it right this time. But no, I can't see past a Leinster victory there.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I said it last week. Benetton and Edinburgh are the same team, except one of them is fraudulent and the other one is fraudulent, but in Italian. Uh, Ben, last game of the weekend, France against Ireland in Claremont, 8-10, Virgin Media 2, Six Nations round 3. Are we going to do it?
Yeah, if we play
Ah,
like
there
we
we
did on
go.
Saturday, we can. It won't be easy, but the
That's
World Cup
good.
gave me hope for this team. Saturday gave me hope for this team. Go get. They're talking about revenge already. Go get it. Go win. Yeah,
Yeah,
Ireland by a
absolutely.
score.
Why not? The three of us could well be watching this together, me, David, and Ben, because I may be working on both games, so I may need Ben's humble abode to help me out. Although I don't trust his Wi-Fi. But gentlemen, we will leave it at that for tonight. We'll be back next week with another jam-packed show full of Irish rugby to look back on. As always, if you like what you see here, please do like and subscribe. But from me, from all the lads, thank you very, very much for listening, and we'll see you very, very soon.